Okay, as you can see, my hair now looks really wet again. I didn't get back in the shower or anything. I just combed it through with the Versastyler. Oh, and earlier I called the Versastyler diffuser. I meant Versastyler. Anyways, so yeah, it's combed all the way through. You would be able, at this point you can feel it, like you can feel that it's not just wet with water, like you can feel the Versastyler in there. You don't have to have a ton in there right now because you're going to be putting more on as you do the wet set, but you just want it kind of fairly evenly through so that you don't have to do a lot more later. Then, where did I put my clip? Hang on. Clips, very handy. You want to just pick up the top part of your hair. So as you can see, I'm just kind of pushing my fingers through and leaving this bottom area here separate, and I'll clip up the rest to deal with it later. Whenever I put the Versastyler in, the bottom always seems to get the least, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to put more in, because it is going to be on, like, a ton more anyway, because it's going to be on the bottom and not seen as much, and it'll get crisped, like crunched down more anyway. But I just did a little bit. My hands are nice and glistening now with all the Versastyler, and I just kind of comb through with my fingers the bottom part. Then, once you've got it so that that whole bottom section feels evenly coated with it, you start with segments. So I'll take just this bit, I'll leave this part over here on my right side, and start with this. And I'm just taking a segment about this big right here. It doesn't really matter, by the way. If you do bigger segments, like if you take bigger sections, it'll probably end up looking a little bit more like ringlet-like. Like there'll just be big, more chunks, and if you do smaller ones, it'll be more natural looking, I guess, but it will gradually go together in ringlets too, probably. I just kind of, you can play with it. Whenever you do it a couple times, do some bigger, some smaller areas, whatever, to vary it up. Anyways, but once you get it, you just twist it around your finger until you feel like there's not any strays, and let it go. And it looks kind of crappy right there, like it's just hanging there. When my hair used to be curlier, when I was in high school, it would already start curling, and yours probably will, Joe. Lorraine, I don't know if you're, I can't tell from your pictures how curly or frizzy is or isn't, so it may look straight right now, but the diffuser will take care of that later. Once you finish that part, just grab some more hair that you haven't already done and do the same thing. And if it feels dry, like it's not holding together, which mine's starting to right now, you can get a little bit of Versastyler. I wouldn't do a ton more, just like a little dribble, whatever, in your hand, for the part that's starting to feel dry, because obviously with less hair you need less in there. And it doesn't matter which side you do these sections from, because it's going to end up on the bottom anyway. As you get towards the top of your head, it'll be more important which side you pull from, because it'll alternate the way that you twist it and also the way that it sits once it's dry. Doing this twists it around and locks the frizz in with the regular curl. Okay, so I've finished the bottom section here, and I'll usually kind of scrunch at it a bit like this to just make it so it doesn't start drying completely straight as I pulled it down. Joe, you probably won't need to do that if your hair is like I think it is. Then I will unclip, and this is kind of important. When you unclip it and you pull down the next section, you have to keep your hand on it so that it doesn't fall in, because it's really hard to keep track of what you've done and not if you don't have your hand on it. So just dividing another little section here, and then I'm going to twist it so that it stays together and doesn't get mixed with the rest, and then twist up the top again. That part needed to go down. Anyway, okay, now twist up the top and clip it back up out of the way. Now, with the bottom section, obviously it's harder to just set it down. It's not like the bottom where you can just let it hang there. So usually I'll divide this into 3 separate sections, like one for each side and then one for the back. So here's my left side section, my right side section, and then the one in the back. And these will usually be fairly dry because you didn't get it from the bottom and there's not as much that dribbled from the top. So I'll usually use a bit more Versus Styler here to run through this section. And then I'll just do 1/3 of this at a time. So I'll usually start at the bottom to start segmenting and twisting it. Just grabbing bits that feel like they make sense. Just keep twisting it. It takes a while. It probably takes me about 10 or 15 minutes to do all the sections, like to twist everything, but it's worth it, I think. And now I'm moving on to this back middle section, which again you can see the ends here are fairly dry. Like they're not very moist like the rest of it. I'll usually comb through because that'll help with some of that. Like usually there's more closer to the root than there is in the rest. And by combing through you spread the Versus Styler and it'll already be a little bit better so you don't have to waste as much of this. And then again just do the scrunching so that it doesn't start drying straight. And I mean, by drying straight I mean the stuff weighs it down a bit. And if the Versus Styler starts drying when it's weighing it down, it'll get crunchy and stay that way. So you need to make sure you scrunch it